Hi, folks, and welcome to another edition of An Hour with Bob on this hot Wednesday afternoon. We're taping this on, what is this, the 15th of July? Is that the 15th?
15th, yeah.
July 15th, 2025. And I'm with a guest that I've known him a long time, but I haven't seen him in a while. And you'll remember him from radio, and now he's the head of the Rhode Island
Broadcasters
Association. How you doing, Bill George?
I'm doing well, thanks, Bob.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's been a while.
I know. How long have you been in radio?
I was in radio for 36 years.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So started out at Light 105. I was an intern. You know, I was the guy that wound the tapes. And,
Right. Oh, yeah.
Filed production orders and was in the studio at midnight on Saturday night while my friends were out partying when I was in college.
Wow.
And became program director and worked at a bunch of stations. Light 105, WPRO. I was on B101 for a long time. Did Afternoon Drive. Program director at WHJJ. So I've been very fortunate. Moved around a little bit, but but have been in Rhode Island for most of my career.
Wow. Well, I remember the days when I actually filled in for some people at your station,
on talk radio, Yeah, when Arlene Violet, you probably were on with Arlene at some point.
Right.
So
she used to do 4 hours
a
too.
legend, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 4 hours, and she had a great group of guests.
Yes.
And, it's such
Callers.
Yeah, and
awesome callers.
Interesting perspectives.
Right.
That she would be working on books, and she'd be running into the studio and say, "Oh, I was just doing an interview, working on my book." So she's a fascinating lady. I just saw her this past fall.
Yep.
At the Rhode Island Radio Hall of Fame dinner, and she looks great. She's still at it, still writing and doing lots of stuff.
Yeah, I haven't had her on in a long time. I got to call her again because she's a great guest.
Yeah.
She's a very smart woman.
Yeah, we're very lucky. We've had a lot of great broadcasters in Rhode Island over the years.
You know who I ran into recently was Steve Cass.
Cass, man, he's one of a kind. Yeah, we love Steve. Steve is still very active, so he's also active in the Hall of Fame. Does a lot of voiceovers still and he's done fill-in for radio all around the country because he does it from his house. So he's a very, very active guy. Just one of those people that when he walks into the room, he can just be at ease with anybody.
Right, right.
Terrific guy and a legend.
He's an imposing figure, too.
Yeah,
He's a big guy.
big guy.
He's a big guy.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but he had a great career at WPRO and WHJJ. Worked in government for a while. So, like I said, we've had some really great people that have worked in Rhode Island radio and TV.
Well, he was just inducted, last year, 2023, into the Rhode Island Heritage Hall of Fame.
Steve Cass was.
Steve Cass
Yeah.
was, along with myself, by the way.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Gene Valicenti.
Now, how long have you been doing this show?
33 years.
33. So the first time that you and I met, so 33 years ago, that was 92. So shortly after that was when Mike Butts was on the radio.
Right.
So I was at WPRO and Pro FM, and
Right.
you were doing things with the Mike Butts morning show.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, whatever happened? He moved to Chicago or something.
Mike
the Midwest
is
somewhere.
he's moved around a bit. I think he's down south, and I don't remember where it is. But he does advocacy for animals. He was always a big animal adoption. So he works with groups doing that, and so he's out of radio. But I hired Mike at WPRO. I mean that was a crazy time. You might remember that was in 1993. Cap Cities sold WPRO. Now, Cap Cities was, the biggest radio company.
Right.
They, were in New York and LA, all the biggest markets, and they decided to sell Providence. And the company that I worked for, Telemedia, which owned Light 105 at the time, bought WPRO, and it was a huge upheaval. Salty Brine decided that he was going to retire.
Right.
So he wasn't sure what he was going to do, and then Salty one day he called Ira, who was our president of the company at the time, and said, "I'm not comfortable. I've worked for ABC all these years, so I'm going to retire." And but it was so fast that people thought that Salty got forced out.
Oh.
So people would call the station and say, "What did you do?"
Yeah, what did you do to Salty Brine?
So I was the operations manager. So I ran all the programming at the time, And so it was, I mean, we got brutalized because Salty decided to make this transition. And then Larry Kruger and John Coletto, who had been on the show with him for years, took over. And I have a close friend, my buddy Dan, plays guitar in a band called Phoenix Ave. They play out all over Rhode Island. And shortly after Salty retired, we went to go see Dan play at a restaurant. And we walked in, and all of a sudden he stops the music and gets on the mic and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to a Rhode Island legend." And people are looking at me, and my wife says, "He can talk about you?" He says, "The man who fired Salty Brine."
No way! No way! Was he being it to be a jerk? Or
No, as a joke. And so people looked at me like, "You did what?" He's just kidding. He's just kidding.
Well, it wasn't long after that I did a show for the opening of the Cello's restaurant on the waterfront.
Yep.
And I produced the whole thing, and I brought a band in, and I brought the guest, and my guest I had were 3 harbor masters and Salty Brine. And I had the latest in gear for safety gear for boats, and the safety jacket, and I even had a bunch of the waitresses model the safety jackets, come by us all over. It was a great show. It was a couple-hour long show, but Salty was the kingpin then.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, 53 years he was on WPRO.
Right.
I mean, that's a run that most people will never get or come close.
And I was another funny thing that happened with Salty Brine was we were at the other studio in Pawtucket, and I used to have a couch, and I sat at a chair and the couch, just like a Johnny Carson show. That's why I fashioned my show after. And by the way, this set was used once. I got this set at an auction, actually at PPAC. Jay Leno did an hour and a half at PPAC, and after that, Joe Rocco.
Yeah.
This set was donated by the Cardi brothers.
Yeah.
With the whole thing, the rug and everything.
Yeah.
And
Is there a TV set that doesn't have something donated by the Cardi brothers?
Yeah. In Rhode Island, no. So they after that, Joe Rocco interviewed Jay Leno for about an hour, and after that they said, "We're going to auction this set off." So one guy bids $500, another guy goes $550, and I get up and I'm like 10 rows up back, it's on a incline, right? I go down, I go, "Joe, I got 600, and Joe stops it. He goes, "All right, we got to stop the bidding off, right? We got to stop the bidding right now. This set's got to go to him." It saved me a lot of money, actually.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I'm sure the bidding would have hit the $1,000.
Yeah, not bad for that amount. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was how long ago when Leno? That was this.
That
this
was just
past
2
time?
years ago.
Yeah, when he was at
At PPAC.
Yeah. Now a part-time Newport resident.
Exactly. But getting back to Salty Brine, I had Salty on the show one night, and also I had Tony Petrarca.
Yeah.
And I had Petrarca first, so then Salty comes on, and they shift seats, and Salty's right next to me. And Salty says, "Bob, I've never felt comfortable in all my life to do this, but tonight I feel comfortable doing it." And I go, "Salty, you're Salty Brine. You can do any damn thing you want, right?" Well, he takes his leg off, and he puts it on the desk, right on the desk, right on my desk. You would think Tony Petrarca would have fell on the floor. I mean, he was baffled by it. He didn't know that Salty Brine had a wooden leg.
Oh, really?
And some people, I guess, didn't.
Right.
But he always wanted to do that, but never did it.
Yeah.
And he actually talked about his childhood, because if people that don't know, Salty Brine was hopping trains like I used to do as a kid, and he missed, and his leg went under the train wheel and cut his leg off.
Right.
At 11, he was 11 years old, and he proceeded to tell the story. And Tony's doing all he can to not bawl his eyes out, sitting next to him. First, we were in amazement, because he left the thing with the shoe right on the desk, right on the desk with the the sock and the shoe on it, right, during the whole conversation. And he's telling about, now, obviously that was a long time ago.
So Tony was a young guy then.
Yeah, Tony was a young guy, and Salty was only 11 when it happened, and he was telling about how mean kids were to him, going to school after that.
Sure, yeah.
And back then they didn't have real good prosthetics, so he actually had like a broomstick handle, and with just leather that hit the stump and like a peg leg.
Yeah.
And he said when he got home, he had to take it off, and it was all sore and raw and bleeding and everything else. What he went through was in his early years, plus what he had to deal with in school with all the kids picking on him.
Yeah.
Calling him peg leg.
And that was probably something that propelled him to do what he did. It gave him the the ability to overcome obstacles and to inspire him to do great things. I mean, he had a career that will never be matched. I mean, 53 years, radio and TV. Now there are a lot fewer channels and choices then. So he was, but he was a big fish in the pond. I mean, there's no bigger name in Rhode Island broadcasting than Salty Brian.
And that was back in the day, as you say, when there was only a few spots he could be on. It isn't like today. You can be a podcaster, you can be anything today.
Well, even when I got into the business in the late 80s, and there was no websites. There were no, basically it was Providence Journal, magazines, 3 TV channels.
Right.
And I think Fox 64 maybe came around right about that time. But for the most part, media was very simple. Whereas today, all of these folks, everybody that I worked with, at 94 HJY and WHJJ, now 93.3, Doug and Jen on HJY, they have their podcast, they have their Instagram channel, Facebook. So there's a lot to being in broadcasting now compared to what it was then. It used to be guys you could show up, you could do your show for 4 hours, and you were done. And maybe you did some appearances, you recorded some commercials, but now it's all about being a brand, about being an influencer, being multimedia, because those are the folks that will continue to do well in the media. You look at somebody like Ryan Seacrest. How many things is he in?
Yeah, I know.
You wonder
where he gets the time.
Yeah, exactly.
He's probably like me, doesn't sleep.
Right, exactly.
Or sleeps very, very
little.
little.
You wonder at some point he's got to figure that he's done it all. He doesn't need to be that busy, but these are people who are very driven, and really have a lot to share, and that's like I said, we're lucky that we have a lot of those folks still in Rhode Island, and digital is a big part now. Digital has expanded the footprint of all these folks in broadcasting. So a lot of people will say to me, is radio still relevant? How many people?
That's a question I had for you.
Yeah, do people still listen to the radio? So. About 80% of the American population listens to the radio on a weekly basis. And a little more if you're older. If you're, over 50 years old, it's probably more like 90%. If you're 18 to 45 years old, it's going to be a little bit less. But people still use radio, especially in the car.
Right, exactly.
Radio is still 70% of the audio usage in cars, because you have things like traffic reports, and it's a community vibe. It really connects people to their community.
And talk radio, of course.
Yeah, and talk radio and music radio, all sorts of radio. I mean, you look at a show like Paul and Al, who are celebrating their
35 years.
35 years this week, and you think about the connection, and there's a great video on their Facebook page of all the things that they've done and been out with the community. And
some of the crazy stunts they used to do.
The crazy stunts. They used to do the Undies 500, where they'd have guys on tricycles and underwear. Yeah. But all these brands have grown from being part of the community. Right now we've got one of the things that we work on with the Rhode Island Broadcasters Association is legislation. So we work with our congressional delegation, we work with the General Assembly, we give input to the FCC. But there's a bill that we're trying to get through Congress right now called the AM for Every Vehicle Act. And there are some automakers.
Exactly. I just bought a new car, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at a Tesla first, and Tesla doesn't offer an AM radio.
Right. And they can so there's two reasons they don't do it. Number one is
They claim it's something to do with it. It messes up their
but they
their
can do
system.
it. With a little bit of technology, they can do it. It costs them a little bit to do it.
Right.
But the other issue is that these automakers their dashboard is now real estate. Basically, they're eventually what you're going to see in automotive is you're going to see a subscription model. So for instance, you buy a car now, it's like, okay, of course you're going to get power windows, power brakes, air conditioning, the entertainment system. Well, all that is going to be subscriptions. So your car is going to come with that, and then based on what you want to pay a month, sort of like a streaming service or something,
Right.
they will turn it on, whatever you want. You want the cold weather package with the heated steering wheel and the heated seats, all that will be subscription.
No way.
Well, they don't make any money on AM, FM radio because it's free.
Right.
So the issue with that is you look at what happens and people say, well, if there's an emergency, all that information is out everywhere anyway. It's on the internet, it's on your phone. But look at these hurricanes that we had last year. The hurricanes are getting more often.
And bigger.
And bigger, right, more devastating. You look at a place like western North Carolina, never had hurricanes
Unbelievable.
before. Not even near the shore. All of these people, and there's case study after case study of all these people who've said, my only connection to finding out what was going on
Is radio.
was my radio.
Right.
So without my radio, I didn't have it. And so AM radio especially, out west, it's agricultural news. They have, tornado warnings and, things like that all the time. But even here in the Northeast, we're seeing more extreme weather. So,
More floods.
So and radio is very important. So we still play an extremely important role in the lives of Americans. Like I sit on the advisory board for Rhode Island Emergency Management, for Providence Emergency Management. So we work closely with those guys all the time for anything, whether it be an Amber Alert, Silver Alert, things like that. Anytime that people need information right away, especially in cars, radio is still the best way to reach them.
So you're all over the place, huh? Now instead of being on the air, you're all in the car, right? You're going to Washington.
My voice is still on, and I get to work with the TV guys, which is fun now too. All of the TV stations in Rhode Island are all on our board as well, and,
Right.
And they're active members and very important. TV is still local journalism is still very trusted. You see a lot of studies nowadays where people say that media is biased, that it's one side or the other, that fake news, it's sensationalism. So when you hear that, people are predominantly talking about national news.
Right.
Because,
Right.
cable news, that's what they have to be. They have to be one side or the other. They have to be extreme.
Sad.
That's
sad.
right, I know,
Very
but that's
sad.
how they get audience. But when you look at, a Channel 6, a Channel 10, a Channel 12, Rhode Island PBS, they're doing real journalism. And all of the research says that those sources, local journalists, are still the most trusted sources. So when you see a investigative report on Channel 6 or 10 or 12, those are the folks that are really doing the work that needs to be done. The journalists who are bringing stories to the forefront. And right now, that's a big thing for me as well, is helping promote journalism, find young people that want to be in journalism, because the job's changed a lot.
Oh yeah.
You see now these reporters, when they start out, they're multimedia journalists. So they go out with the camera, the microphone.
Right, exactly.
They've
got to do the whole thing by themselves.
That's right.
And it's crazy. I had two kids started here, and I take a lot of pride in it because they weren't even in high school. Well, one of them was in high school, the other was in junior high school, and they started working with me, and they worked for me for about 10 years. Both of them are with Channel 12. One's the lead cameraman on Channel 12, and the other guy's not far behind. And they didn't even go to a trade school or a college. And they got a job, they were picked right out of here.
Wow.
In fact, I should be mad at, I think it was Tony Petrarca that did it.
It stole them away?
He said to me on the show one day, he goes, during a break or something, or after the show, he goes, that kid's good. I watched the way he handles the camera, and floor director, and the other one's in there running the. I let him do everything.
Yeah.
I let him in every facet of a TV production. Usually you got to go to college for that or trade school for that.
Yeah, but I tell young people all the time. So we go to career fairs and all that kind of stuff and speak to young people. But getting yourself immersed in the business. Doing the work is the most important, is beyond what you could learn in a classroom.
Right,
You know,
right.
I tell people internships, go out on informational interviews, talk to people like, you know, like yourself who know about the business, and then, you know, that's the way that the business works, that you can really make a lot of headway just by meeting the right people who give you a shot. You know, you make your own luck. Be the right guy in the right place at the right time.
Yep.
And that's what this business is all about. You know, you have to have talent, you know, obviously, but the hard work.
That goes
is,
without
but there
saying.
have been plenty of people who have the talent but don't want to put in the hard work. So
Right.
putting in the work and being
Right.
the person who says yes all the time is very important.
And then over the years, some of the guests I've had that kind of made it big time after being on the show, and specifically said to me that, you know, I used the tape of the show we did, and it excelled me, or it got me places that I normally wouldn't get, because if you're the sports, say you're the sports reporter, you're reading a teleprompter,
Right.
right? They don't know these new companies, these bigger companies that are looking for somebody. They don't know what you like. They don't know anything about you.
Right.
Well, I did, one night I took one of the sportscasters. She was the weekend sportscaster for Channel 10. Just did weekends. She was like a Frank Carpano, then there was somebody else, and then her.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a show down at 20 Water Street in East Greenwich.
Yeah.
I set it up with the place, and I don't know if you're familiar with 20 Water Street.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right, they got the deck, and then they had a staircase going up to the upper deck.
Right.
Well, they had bouncers at the bottom of the stairs, so nobody could come upstairs. And her and I were upstairs, and we had dinner. And I interviewed her during the dinner. Fancy dinner, cloth tablecloth. We had
Yeah.
shrimp cocktail. We had wine. I don't drink, but you know, we had the bottle of wine on the table. And I interviewed her the whole hour. It was like a date. I wish it was a date. She's a beautiful woman. And after that, within less than a month, she got hired by Boston. And soon after that, she got hired by Nesson. And then a year or two after that, she was covering the Super Bowl for NBC.
Wow.
Dylan Dreyer. I'm sorry, no, Catherine Tappan.
I was just going to say, okay, yeah,
Catherine Tappan.
Yeah.
And after she got hired by Nesson, she calls me one day and she goes, "You do me a favor?" I said, "What?" She goes, "You help out a friend of mine." I said, "Of course, who?" She's a girl, number 5 weather person, again for Channel 10. You had John Giorgi, you had Dave, who was it? Dave, was it Dave? Not Dave. I'm trying to think who it was. Mark was there, Mark Seros.
Yeah.
You're
talking about after Art Lake?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You had the guy just retired. Well, about a year ago he retired. Anyway, she was number 5.
Yeah.
Again, doing just the weekend. So I had her as a guest. Did a whole hour show with her. You know where she is today?
Where?
She fills in, or she does the 3rd hour on the Today Show, and she fills in when the head guy there isn't there.
Who's that?
The morning guy. It's Dylan Dreyer.
Oh, Dylan. Yeah, of course, Dylan. Yeah.
Dylan Dreyer. Yeah.
She's on when Al Roker's off.
Well,
right.
when Al Roker's
Right.
off, she's on, and even when Al Roker's on, she does the 3rd hour.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's a big part of that show.
I'm tempted to go down
Yeah.
there.
So
in
Rhode
the
Island
morning.
is. What were you gonna say?
I'm tempted to go down there in the morning with one of my. I still have a couple of them. Bob's Big Adventure, and then I'll whip out 2 separate shows and stand there and see if she recognizes me. Or hold up a thing. Remember me?
We've had a lot of talent come out of Rhode Island and
Absolutely.
go to the national.
Tony Potts was another one that was on.
Meredith
that show.
Vieira.
Meredith Vieira, East Providence, right here.
Yeah.
East Providence.
Yeah, actually, we have a Rhode Islander who's big on the national scene in sports right now, who's going into the Hall of Fame, and that's Doris Burke. So she's going into the Hall of Fame this year.
Yep.
She was a star played for PC, and now she is one of the leading voices on any NBA broadcast. I mean, she really is one of the most knowledgeable people in sports about the NBA.
Oh, we've had our share.
Yeah.
We've had more than that. based on the size of our population compared to some of these other states.
Right.
I do know there is a fact too that, and you know these reality shows, proportion of the population, Rhode Island has the most on all the reality
well, we've had a
shows.
lot of winners.
We did. I've had a few of them on this show.
Yeah, actually the last time I was on the show, who was it, Louis Stravato?
Yes.
Was on the show.
Right. And
the
Mike,
show.
the guy, he's still a cop, I think, or maybe he just retired. He was
that The Amazing Race?
Newport, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had the winners on a couple years later. The winners. They were two brothers.
Yeah, we
from
had.
Barrington.
Who is the magician that now works in Vegas? He's a big star. And I can't remember.
He was a ventriloquist.
But there was a Matt somebody.
Oh
wasn't he
yeah,
a magician?
I'm sorry, I missed Matt Franco.
Yeah, right.
Yep, I went to see him in Vegas.
Is that right?
I did. I went to see him.
You get to talk to him.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I mentioned the Hall of Fame, by the way. I want to put a plug in for the Hall of Fame. So this year, on September 25th, you've been to the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies before, right?
Yep.
So it's always a great night.
Day after my birthday, by the way.
Is that right? Okay, I'll have to remember that. My wife is the same week, so that'll be easy to remember. But the induction ceremony, every year they put in 5 or 6 people.
Right.
It used to just be the Radio Hall of Fame.
Right.
And now it's radio and TV. So Doris Burke, from famous sportscaster, Steve Cassione,
Steve Cassione, the weather guy from Channel 6.
Yeah, and Channel 12.
12.
And Steve, great guy, so a legend. John DeLuca, who
I love John DeLuca.
Still does the
John
the
DeLuca is one of
nighttime show
my
on Channel
favorite
6.
people on TV, period.
Yeah, he's a very good guy, very down to earth. I mean, very approachable. I think most of our news people in Rhode Island are that way, but yeah, John is.
He supported
good
my
guy.
Toys for Tots every year. He would come to the event just about every year. I did it for 24 years. He was there almost every year.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, Mario Hilario.
Another good one.
Yeah, another great guy. Been
Yeah.
on Channel 10 for 20. I don't know if he's at 30 years yet. It is amazing that Channel 10, when they did their 75th anniversary,
Yep.
they showed the number of people that had been there for how many years, and some of them had been there for 20, 30, 40 years. All these people. So Mario's one of those.
Mario came on the same year Barbara Morse came on.
Did they came to Channel 10 at the same time?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Also, so Andy Lamchick, a sales guy, he sold radio time for a bunch of stations.
Yep.
Still works for WHJJ and 94 HJY. Tony Mendez, who was with Poder, one of our great Spanish broadcasters in Rhode Island. So Tony's going to go in. Great guy. I just saw Tony last week. And WPRI will celebrate their 70th anniversary. So it's pretty amazing. I mean, when you think about how long some of these broadcast stations have been around. So 76 years for Channel 10, 70 years for Channel 12.
Right.
WPRO and WHJJ are both over 100 years.
Wow.
now.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of heritage. So anybody who wants to go to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, you can go
Where is it? When is it?
It's at the Crown Plaza Hotel.
Nice.
On the 25th of September, and tickets are available on their website. So it's RIRTVHOF.com, but just Google Rhode Island Radio TV Hall of Fame. You can find it, and there's a link there for the tickets. So, but it's a good night. We've had some amazing nights there. The night that Buddy Cianci was inducted, I think, was the biggest one. I think
I'll bet.
Buddy himself probably sold 30 tables, which you can probably doesn't surprise anybody. But it's a nice night and a good chance to celebrate broadcasters in Rhode Island.
Now, I can't think of anyone. I've always said that I think I was the only person to spend an hour with Buddy Cianci. He did a whole hour with me.
On the show?
Yeah.
Yeah?
On air, he did a whole hour with me.
Yeah. So you got some good stories out of Buddy then, yeah.
I sure did. And even after, because he didn't leave after. He came with an entourage.
And he was the consummate politician. You talk about somebody where they would say, he'd show up to the opening of an envelope. My mom's aunt and uncle had an anniversary party at their house. This is going back maybe 25, 30 years ago, or when I think actually when he was mayor the first time, so it was even longer. ago than that. And he showed up to the house. Somebody let him know that they were celebrating whatever it was, their 50th anniversary or something.
Wow.
And Buddy showed up, and that's what he did. He went around at night. That was his Friday, Saturday night.
I used to see Buddy out, because I was out a lot. I'd see Buddy out at 1 o'clock in the morning in Providence. Drive going around. He's there, he's here, he's over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was everywhere.
Yeah. So I never actually got a chance to work with Buddy, but I know a lot of folks that did, and working with Buddy on the radio was an adventure. So my good friend Ron St. Pierre,
who just passed away a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. But he and Buddy, Ron actually got a chance to go. He was one of the few folks.
Well, Ron, he brought him back.
Well, yeah, he worked with him at WPRO, and Ron actually had visited him out at the federal penitentiary a few times. Ron and Ronzo and I talked about it a bunch of times, and he said, it's just a fascinating thing, to have, to go and kind of see how it was to go and compare it to how it is in movies when you go visit somebody who's who's in federal prison. But Ron was a great guy. He was, and you knew Ron.
Oh, so Ron had been on the show probably 3 times, I think. In fact, I just had his former co-host on here.
Jen Breen.
A month ago.
An old friend of mine too. Yeah. Jen and Ron actually were doing a podcast, and we put it on WHJJ.
Right.
We recorded it at the station, so they used to come in and record on Tuesdays, and we'd post it up, and then we would put it on the air on WHJJ on a Saturday. And Ron had just had back surgery about 6 weeks before he passed, and so he was, we would talk about he was going through physical therapy. And on Tuesday, he came in to record the show, and we put the show in the can, and then, we were shocked to get the call. I think Jen called me, it was Sunday night or Monday morning that Ron had passed. Yeah, so, but very sudden. But one of those guys that, and again, everybody kind of cross-pollinates in this business.
Sure.
And so Ron was, he was there. I think he might have been the original program director of 94 HJY, because he was on the AM station, WHJJ, and then they gave him 94 HJY, and then he went over to WPRO, and then left PRO, went back to PRO, and then we had him. So his last full-time gig was I hired him at WHJJ. Did mornings for 8 years.
Wow!
But just one of those really good guys, and everybody. When Ron passed, everybody had a story about the positive impact that Ron gave me my shot. There must have been, 30 people that told me that story about how Ron, really helped them get started in the business. So he's one of those guys who really got it, Didn't want to, he wasn't,
He didn't have a big ego.
Exactly, right, yeah.
Now, here's a name that you should remember, hopefully you'll remember. A guy I used to be on the radio with once in a while. I used to go in the Pro FM back in the day. T.J. Knapp.
T.J. Knapp, yeah.
Changed his name to Tony Banks.
Yeah.
Later on.
Yeah, Tony Napoleone. So I don't know if do you know that Tony actually passed away?
I do.
Yeah, from COVID. But Tony and I
from COVID, yeah.
Yeah, Tony and I were friends. Actually, we went through Rhode Island College together. We were the exact same age.
Yep.
So he and I graduated from Rick. We worked at that Rhode Island College station.
Yes.
Which really only gets on campus.
But you had quite a few people pass through there.
Really an outsized reputation for churning out talent. I mean, people like Mike Montecavo, John DePietro, Mike Gonsalves, the doctor, who, again, I don't want to dwell on folks who've passed, but he was one of the folks who died in the station nightclub fire. I think Tony Mascaro from Pro FM.
Right, that's right.
Yep.
So well, didn't he go? Tony Mascaro went to New York, right?
He went to New York, then he came back to WPRO, and he's retired now.
But while he was in New York, T.J. Knapp followed him to New York.
Yeah, they both worked in New York. I don't know if they were both at WPLJ at the same time.
No, I went to see them.
Did they? Oh, they worked together at the same time?
They worked together
okay.
there.
All right.
And then T.J. went down to Florida.
Right.
And he was working in Florida, stationed in Sebastian, I think it was.
Yeah, and he was a vice president of, when I was at iHeart, he had the role of, he was coaching talent. which is what he did. He was like the talent development, one of the vice presidents, and
Right.
he would kind of help people with their show, coaching, people to get to the next level in terms of what they were doing. So it was, we all had pretty good experience. Davey Morris,
Oh, yeah.
who was on Pro FM for a long time. Chris Tyler, who's on the morning show at WZLX in Boston. So they were guys that came along right after me at Rhode Island College. So it's really, we've got these neat little incubators for places. If you didn't start at Rick, you started at Bob's Big Adventure, and
There you go.
went on to great things.
I was in Cancun, Mexico one time. It was during spring break. This is back when Tony was on Pro FM, and I ended up with a photographer. And day we got there, there was right next door was the place that sells the frozen drinks there, Fat Tuesdays.
Okay.
Oh, they got all the different flavors of frozen drinks. And we go over there, and they're having contests there, and I'm snapping pictures, and the guy comes up to me after, the manager of the place. He said, "You got a picture of that woman there, that girl there?" I said, "Yeah, I did." "Do you think you got a good picture?" I said, "Yeah, I got whatever picture you're thinking of, I got it." So the short of it is, we made a bet. He said $10. I said, "Oh, make it 50." He goes, "Yeah, no, you didn't get it. I'll bet you." I said, "Well, then make it 100. And my buddy's going, what are you doing, Bob?" I said, "I got it. I know I got it." He goes, I said, "This is a brand new camera. Shoots 8 pictures a second. I know I got it." So I went down. I said, where can I get? Have you ever been to Cancun? You familiar with Cancun? Yeah. It's at the 7. Mm-hmm. In the middle of the 7, they had a 1-hour photo in the middle. So I go down there, and sure enough, while I'm talking with my buddy, I noticed the pictures coming out on the rail there. They come out.
Yeah.
And he's talking to me. His back's to the picture, and I'm looking down. I can see the pictures. I got the shot that I wanted, and I said, "Don't worry about it, Fred. We're all set. We're all set." He said, "That's a hell of a way to start. We've only been here a couple hours, and you've already got to blow $100. I said, "Don't worry about it. I ain't losing nothing." So sure enough, I had the pictures. So I brought them back to the guy. Well, the short of it is, the guy I was his hero. So that night, we were in the line to go in the place, and the line was 100 feet long to get in the place. And they were charging $25 to get in the place. So it was like the hopping place in Cancun at the time. So one of the bouncers spots me, and way back in the line, he goes out, gets me, and my buddy ushers us right in. So I'm inside, and all of a sudden I realized there's all kinds of kids from Rhode Island there, from URI and Providence College. I guess that was their spring break.
Yeah, right.
So I called Tony, TJ, and I tell him, I said, "Why don't we do a live radio interview right here? With the music in the background, I'll interview a URI kid on one side, a PC kid on the other side, and we'll go through them. Let them each talk for a minute apiece, and then go to the next one and go to the next one you want to do." He did a whole hour. We ended up doing a whole hour on the radio, doing that thing.
That's fun radio. That's a fun thing to do on the radio, and it's one of those things that it's just instantaneous and it's spontaneous and just creative and fun. And
Very much so.
That's what radio is all about.
I keep finding photographs of TJ, and I love his mother, and I'll send them to the mother, and I bet you I've done it 5 or 6 times. I find another batch of pictures that he's in the background or the foreground or whatever, doing something.
Right.
In fact, one more story of TJ Knapp. He comes by my house one day. He says, "Come on, taking a ride. Where we go? We're going up to Boston, going to the Odeum." I said, "For what?" He says, "John Bon Jovi's doing a concert up there. Let's interview him." Okay, he had the Pro FM car, a van.
Yeah.
So off we go, up there. We end up getting behind the scenes. We got backstage with the whole band, and we're sitting with them just like hanging around at least an hour in backstage with these guys.
Wow.
And it's time for them to go up on stage. Well, by this time the drummer is sitting next to me, and they all get up, and also over there was Cam Neely, was Drew Bledsoe, was Doug Flutie, and there's a couple other sports figures there. And everybody gets up. I don't know. So I stand up. The guy grabs me by the arm and he pulls me with him. And they go up on stage, and the stage is, I don't know, 10 feet high, but they got a whole bunch of stairs to it, right? So he pulls me right up on stage, and the roadies pull the stairs out. So I'm on stage now with
no way to get
with
down.
all these, no way to get down. So the concert starts, and I'm looking for a place where it's not so killing me, the sound. So I get behind the speaker or the side of the speaker. And the concert starts, like 3 songs in, Ricky Sambora's double neck guitar, the string breaks. So he stops, and he's got to fix the string. While that's happening, somebody's in the upper deck. Now, you can't see when you're on stage with all the lights.
Lights are,
So I hear, Bob. This guy come running down. I could see a figure up on the upper deck. He's leaning over the railing. He's yelling, Bob. And TJ says to me, Bob, he's calling you. I said, no, he's not. We're in Boston. He ain't calling me. He's calling somebody else, or one of his friends down on the lower deck. So Sambora fixes the string. They do the whole concert, finish the concert. So now TJ and I take turns interviewing Bon Jovi and Sambora. And so I'm interviewing Bon Jovi, and I said, well, I feel honored to be able to get this interview with you. He goes, I'm the one that should feel honored. I go, what do you mean? He goes, they weren't yelling my name. I go, what do you mean? He goes, they were calling you. I said, no, they weren't. He goes, yes, they were. I go, no, they weren't. And I'm arguing. I'm kind of, jokingly arguing with him. No, they did. And I did not believe they were calling my name. Well, that was on a Tuesday night. Remember Shooters in Providence?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, right on the waterfront. Yeah.
Well, I did photography at Shooters. So I go there Friday night, early Friday night. This kid's behind the counter, he's stacking he's the bar back, 16, 17-year-old kid. He's the bar back, and he's filling the coolers. And he lifts his head up. He goes, Bob, wasn't that a great concert the other night? I go, yeah. Well, you were there? He goes, yeah, I was yelling for you. I was up. He has his own band now.
Really?
Yeah, it's, Those Guys, it's called.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Very popular
they're a
band.
great band.
They're
Great cover band.
Yeah, exactly. Very good band.
Absolutely. Yeah, when you meet nice people like John Bon Jovi, it's good. He's actually, I remember when he came to Pro FM, it's kind of surprising when you meet people that are nice, that are famous, because we've all had some awkward. I remember once I was backstage with Elton John. Not that Elton wasn't a good guy, but he was not in the mood.
Right.
A lot of times around performances, especially, sometimes if you meet them afterwards, if they're not happy with their performance, especially comedians who can be very sensitive about their work, it can be very difficult. Elton, we saw him right before. My wife and I got a chance to meet him at the old Boston Garden, and he was, a little bit just very in the mode.
Standoffish.
He wanted to, kind of focus on. So a lot of times I think people get bad raps that, because they're artists, and when you're an artist, they're inside their own head. They're thinking about things. So
especially before the concert.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, before. But we've had some great experiences with nice people. I've got pictures of Sting coming to a listener appreciation party for a station that I worked for, and we didn't have anything to sign on. So I used my back. So we've got pictures of Sting, signing these posters on my back, and I'm bent over. So all my friends give me a hard time because here's me bent over in front of Sting. So it's like caption this picture. But when you meet nice people in the business, it's very refreshing. Especially country artists tend to be really good people. Garth Brooks, Vince Gill, 2 big names, 2 of the nicest people that you
I was
could
at
ever
the
meet.
last time Vince Gill played at the tent.
Yeah,
he was
at
the
that
last
show.
act.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah. That was, I reminisce about Warwick Musical
I
Theater
love that place.
probably more than any other place. So, the Bonoff family had such a great thing going there.
Buster and Larry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so just the family, it was a family business, so everybody in the family worked there.
Yep.
And they had great acts. They used to do, and you remember when they would do kind of a residency. So they would bring acts in for 2 weeks at a time in the summertime. So they would have Liberace, and they became, the Bonoff family became great friends with Liberace.
Exactly.
And Johnny Mathis and, you know, folks like that.
My mother's favorite singer of all time.
Is that right? Yeah,
Chances are.
Great, apparently a great golfer. So he and Buster would go golf at Warwick Country Club.
Really?
Yeah. So that was, I mean, that was a gem, and unfortunately, places like that are very rare. Cape Cod still has the Melody Tent, I think, right?
Yep.
And the South Shore Music Circus, I think, is still around.
And White still does a good job.
Right, yeah, and White's on the waterfront, right. But when, you know, you get those intimate settings, I remember seeing Tony Bennett, and Tony was in his 60s. And I took, my wife and I took my godparents.
Now, where'd you see them? Where'd you see him?
At Warwick Musical Theater.
Okay.
And we sat up in the balcony, and at one point, Tony Bennett takes the microphone, he puts down on the piano, and he sings a cappella. And he was in great voice, and I was thinking, wow, here's this guy. He was probably 65 years old at the time. And then, of course, he went on to sing for another 30 years.
For 30 years, yeah.
But it was such, you know, so in the round at the Warwick Musical Theater.
Only 22 rows.
Right, yeah.
Only 20. It was amazing. That place was amazing.
Right, yeah. And you saw some great shows there. The first show I saw Sha Na Na there.
Oh, yeah.
That was my 8th grade graduation present.
Who was the guy, the tall guy with the deep voice?
Bowser.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw, Tom Jones.
Oh, Tom Jones was there
Engelbert and Humperdinck.
Yeah, both of them. My mom saw them, multiple times, right?
Because I used to go there at will. I mean, any time. He used to call me, why don't you come down? Why don't you come down? I went to almost every event they had, and I would just walk in.
Yeah.
I met the Loving Spoonful there. I got to, and a lot of people I got to talk to after, because Larry would bring me backstage with them.
Yeah. Well, Tom Jones, I remember, so I was about 23 years old, so I was working at Light 105, which at the time was almost easy listening. It was much different than the music is now. It was Barbra Streisand and Neil Diamond and you know, artists like that. So I was like started working there when I was 20 years old. So I remember I was like 22, maybe 23 years old, and I got the chance to interview Tom Jones. And Tom Jones is telling me this story about the song, The Green, Green Grass of Home.
Right.
So he's talking with his,
beautiful
with
song.
His Welsh brogue, and he's saying, I remember a time, and he's telling me the story about how Elvis was driving on his tour bus. Elvis used to like to drive his own tour bus, and he's going back to Memphis, and he was homesick, and he was excited to be able to get back home. He said, and Elvis calls up this Memphis radio station, and he says to the DJ, I want you to play Tom Jones, The Green, Green Grass of Home, over and over until I get home to Memphis. And so Tom Jones is telling me this story, and I'm thinking, I'm 22, 23 years old. I'm thinking, holy cow, Tom Jones is telling me a story about Elvis Presley singing his song, you know. But to have those folks that close, you know, at a place like Warwick Musical Theater, you know, it really was special. I mean, it was a different time in Rhode Island. I mean, that really was kind of one of those watershed moments that said, okay, we're in a different era now.
And he ever told me they were closing, and the reason they closed is because the casinos were playing. They'd have Tom Jones. You pay $25 at the Warwick Musical Theater to see him, but they did it for free at Foxwoods.
Well, yeah, and the whole entertainment. There's so many places you can see entertainment now that you know, like you said, you know, all these places, you've got a lot more options, and there's a lot more competition. And they all have protective agreements now that you can't perform within 60 or
72 miles, 70, I think,
right,
is a number that comes up.
Within a certain number of months. So there's a lot more competition. You're right, the casinos do have an advantage because they're not looking to make money on those acts. They're looking to
get people in.
to get people in to
to
drive the rest of their business. Right.
Right. Who was the comedian there? Who was the Rash, the real tough guy? In fact, he had a TV show.
Andrew Dice Clay?
No, God, I saw him. I saw him live.
Okay. Yeah.
No, this is a rugged guy. He played a drill instructor on TV one year, a comedy show. Heck, what's his name? Real bad, real rough on around the edges. When he was on the Carson Show many times.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name. He did a whole bunch of promos for me anyway at the Warwick Musical Theater, and the guy, he was coming to Lincoln one time, a couple years, about 3 or 4 years ago, I guess, maybe longer.
Not Sam Kinison.
Nope,
Okay.
nope. Gosh, isn't it awful? My buddy says, well, I got to go see him. We'll catch him the next time. He died like 3 weeks after that. And he would have, I'm sure he would have recognized me because he stayed with me after his concert at the Warwick Musical Theater. We did a whole bunch of promos for Bob's Big Adventure, which some people don't realize it's a different show. And he go, Bob's Adventure, who's Bob? Who's its adventure? What kind of adventure is this? You know, and they go, no, let's do another one. A different take. So, and again, I didn't get to see him after that.
Yeah, they had great acts. You know, Gallagher used to do the thing where
another one.
He smashed the watermelons.
Yeah, watermelons.
Yeah, I think I sat in the second or third row one time when he was there.
Bad move.
And they,
Bad
well,
move.
what they did at the Warwick Musical Theaters, they put plastic trash bags over the seat.
Right.
So what you do is you would take the trash bag off the seat and then put it
Put
over
it
your
on.
head,
Yep.
and that would be, you know, because you'd be just covered in watermelon or whatever by the end of the night.
Yep. How about Tiny Tim?
Yeah, he played.
I did a thing with Pro FM. He came to Pro FM. I was there one night with his wife.
Yeah.
I guess they got
Miss-
married on the Tonight Show.
Yeah, right. Miss, I forget what her name was, but he was. So I never met Tiny Tim, but he was. I mean, now you're going way back, but he was one of those guys who was just, they say, just the gentlest, most polite,
Right, yep.
humble guy you would ever meet.
Yep. Well, he was up at Spooky World one year, and it was like the President of the United States was there. I mean, there had more people there.
Well, there's another one that's gone. Spooky World is gone now, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. Boris Bobby Pickett, because he would come and sing Monster Mash.
Yep.
And that would be the whole act. He'd come, you'd wait, he'd do Monster Mash, and then he'd go back, sit in a trailer for an hour and a half, and then he'd come back out and sing Monster Mash again. So he did that like 5 times a night, and that was his gig for the month leading up to Halloween.
Well, last night on TV they had one of those those shows there, talent shows, and the girl was coming down. She used to be with the English girl, the English group there, the 4 girls.
The
Spice Girls.
Yeah.
Spice Girls.
Yeah.
Jay, what's her name? MJ or something.
Mel B.
B. Mel B. She was coming down, and Simon was busting up. He had them play. Obviously, he's the producer of the show, so they would come down one at a time. They'd be announced, and they'd come walking down the middle of the aisle. And when she was coming down, they played the Monster Mash, and she didn't like it very much. They played the Monster Mash for her, you know. And she was going, "Why did you play the Monster Mash for me?" That type of thing.
Yeah, he did it to get her goat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And American Idol, there's another one. American Idol or all those other shows. I've had a couple of them on over the years, a couple of people that were involved in that genre over the years. And a lot of Rhode Islanders have done well in those genres.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. We've had, there's a lot of, like you say, it's a place where we punch above our weight. I mean, Rhode Island's had a Miss Universe.
Exactly.
With Olivia
Who just
Copo.
had a baby.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so we really have, again, an outsized
exceeded expectations, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's funny that a lot of people aren't aware, the perception of Rhode Island, when I talk to people from around the country, they know Newport, and they don't know a whole lot else about Rhode Island, because it is very, very small, and even people in Massachusetts. I remember when I was working in Boston, at one point somebody working in radio asked me, "Oh, does Rhode Island have its own TV stations, or do you guys watch Boston?" It's like, kidding? Like, it's not that small.
You know what bothered me a lot? In fact, one of the reasons I started the show in the first place was about Big Adventure was when people would say to me, I'd be in California, visit my grandfather or something, and they'd say, "Where you from, Rhode Island?" "Oh, Long Island." I go, no, the state of Rhode Island. Don't you understand that?
Yeah, that's why it bothers me when people say, you can always tell when somebody's not from Rhode Island because they say it differently.
Right.
So you and I say Rhode Island. People from other places say it like it's an island, like Rhode Island.
Right.
Rhode Island, as if like it's, Long Island. Like no, it's Rhode Island, not Rhode Island. We're not an island, I know it was stupid to name it that in the first place, but
Right, exactly.
But that's not how you say it.
Now, what was it named after anyway? The island of Rhodes?
And the Isle of Rhodes, yeah. That apparently it reminded somebody of the Isle of Rhodes in Greece.
And it's not even an island. But I guess they must have landed in
Well, because
Newport.
they took the Providence plantations off, and
Right, yeah.
So now we're just Rhode Island. But it is unique. I guess if you're from somewhere, to us it doesn't seem that weird. But I guess if you're from somewhere else and you've got a place called Rhode Island and it's not an actual island, it just seems kind of.
And we
weird.
used to have the distinction of having the longest state capital name.
Right. Or the longest state name. Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and not anymore because we've changed it.
Since they took that away from us.
But Rhode Island, I mean, we have think about it. I mean, the state is only 60 miles long,
right.
But we have 400 miles of coastline.
The ocean state.
Yeah.
They don't play that up enough.
Yeah,
they used to play it up, but they don't play that up
Yeah,
enough.
I agree.
They try these stupid other things that they tried to
When people come from, I have friends that from Atlanta that just came up and stayed with us in the fall, and they said, I want a Rhode Island weekend. So we went out for seafood,
right.
till we busted. We went out and we went to Newport, we went to Narragansett, we went to all the spots, including Watunic Oyster Bar, which
right.
So we wish Perry luck on getting that going. I know they're doing the outdoor thing, but so it's not quite the same, but at least they're able to keep it going because that place has been, such an institution.
Right, exactly.
But we have, we're very fortunate. We have great seafood and great.
Great food, period.
Yeah.
Great Italian food.
Great fishing. I was just out striper fishing with a friend of mine, and you don't even have to go far. I mean,
we got to talk about that after because
right.
I have not caught a striper in so many years.
Yeah.
My friend's got a boat. So it's a matter of telling him where to go, what's a good spot.
Yeah, even just off East Providence, I mean the Upper Bay, there's great fish, and it all depends on, some of it is luck, some of it is skill with anything with fishing. That's why they call it fishing, not catching, right? So,
right. Yeah.
But when the bait is up in the bay,
right.
You catch fish all the way up, in the Providence River, all the way
up,
all the way
underneath,
up to Pawtucket.
I live in Pawtucket. Underneath the Division Street Bridge. In my younger days, I used to get down there and snag menhaden and then sell them to the bait shops.
Yeah.
Because they would chase the menhaden, the bluefish or the stripers or both would chase the menhaden, and they were stuck there because they got the waterfall. Right. They didn't go over the waterfall.
Right.
So they would be boiling the water.
Yeah. Well, stripers are coming back now. Because they've managed the population. So you have what you call a slot limit. So you only can keep them between 28 and 31 inches. So, because a lot of people, they just fished it out. We overfished stripers, and so now, but they're coming back, and it's been good fishing.
Well, we got to talk about fishing off camera because we've run out of time. You spent an hour with Bob. You ever hear of the fish squetique?
Squetique, yes, of course. Yeah, weak fish.
There you go.
Yes.
Why did they call them weak fish? It was the Indians that called them weak fish.
Have something to do with their mouth? Or?
Very good. Okay. They had a weak mouth. They used to pull the hook right out. If you pulled them hard, you pulled the hook right out. But they were overfished.
Right.
I haven't seen anybody catch one of them in a couple decades.
You don't hear about it.
And we used to catch them all the time. Well, thank you for spending an
it's
hour
my pleasure.
with Bob.
Yeah, good talking
Bill
to you.
George,
So.
WHJY.
Well,
not anymore. No,
Rhode Island Broadcasters
the Rhode Island
Association.
Broadcasters Association.
Yeah, and I also just want to remind everybody
Go
that the Rhode Island Radio and TV Hall of Fame induction ceremony is on the 25th. So all of those legends being inducted, get your tickets. Just look for it online. Rhode Island Radio and
By
TV
the way,
Hall of Fame.
I should announce it right now. I just got inducted into the Rhode Island, into the Pawtucket Hall of Fame.
Oh, good for you.
I just got announced.
I've been to a couple of those ceremonies.
Couple days ago. Yeah.
Good. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great.
That was a shock to me. I'm happy to hear that.
Great. Congratulations.
And that's in November.
All right.
All right,
Mark
folks.
your calendars.
Thank you for spending an hour with Bob and Bill George. Until next time, see ya.